Alrighty, folks. Thanks for watching The Mad Squirrel. I'm your commentator today, and I thought I would just kind of go over some of the things of why I've been away from videos for a few days. I had a little incident on the way home with my Outlander. I had a charging system warning come on as I was driving home, and I come into a couple dangerous situations. I was about 3 miles from the location when this all happened. My check charging system light came on, and as I was driving, um, I started noticing things started failing. My power steering went out, and at that point, I had to manually steer the vehicle. Not too bad. I mean, curves were a little rough. They were a little turn. I drove manual steering vehicles years ago as a young man, so I kind of knew what to expect without having that assist. My cooling system failed, and the pump was going out on it. The ABS went out. My anti-lock brake systems failed. Now you will have brakes, but they won't have the pause feature. Radio shut down. I started noticing everything on the screen started turning red, and I knew that I was hoping I could get home or get somewhere to where I can get the vehicle off the road pretty quick. I made the goal to try and make it home because, like I said, I was only 2 or 3 miles away from home. But the issue was traffic lights, and we had some hills and what have you. I ended up making it to a friend's house and pulling into their driveway as they lived on a hillside. And at that point, the vehicle come to a stop. No power. I lost power. And it started ticking. The engine would, at that point, the on and off shut off system would not work because I had drained the battery to the point where it didn't have enough to shut the vehicle. Everything had finally come to a close because the battery was so depleted. And what's happening is the computer system in the vehicle starts taking power from each of these things that I listed. And that's what it's made to do, to save the battery, to keep fire to the plugs so that you can keep driving, or whatever the reasoning is to keep power to the vehicle. It will slowly, to conserve energy, shut all this stuff down. And that's what it's made to do. And that's what was happening to me. Now, there are several things that cause this. Today's video is going to concentrate on a battery current sensor, which is on the negative side of the battery post. It is part of the pigtail, and I'll show that here pretty soon. Mine was a seized pulley on the alternator, which in turn snapped the serpentine belt. And so we have a serpentine belt that is going to be need replaced and what have you. And it was older. Serpentine belt on this Outlander had never been replaced. And looking at it, there were cracks and what have you. So we know the issue, but some of the things that cause this is alternator, serpentine belt, tensioner pulley. A lot of times is going bad. So the belt slips and the charging is there, but not as much or adequately enough to where the battery doesn't get what it needs. A lot of times it's corrosion. Your contacts of different wires. There's a lot of wiring and what have you, and moisture is a killer on electronics, and moisture do not get along at all. And a lot of times you may get some current, but it's not enough, and sometimes not enough can be just as dangerous as none, actually. And you always want to check and make sure that your contact points, no green, everything's nice and clean and what have you, and that they're tight, connections are tight or what have you. And that's sometimes parts just go bad. Battery current sensor, or what I saw as listed as battery temperature sensor, was one as well. So in turn, I ended up actually, after finding out it was the alternator, I decided just to do everything. So we got a newer battery in there now. We have a new current sensor, which I'm going to show you on this YouTube video how to replace. Now, there's everything on YouTube that you could imagine on changing out tensioners, alternators, water pumps, the belt on these engines. This is the 2.0 engine, dual overhead cam. That's what's on this engine. That's what this engine is. Everything you could imagine. I saw pictures of where the battery current sensor is, how much they cost. You do need to make sure you get the right one. There's plenty of aftermarkets out there, and if you get the wrong one, just will not work. And I'll explain the two little simple things that makes the difference on these. But nothing about installation. And it's actually very, very simple. It's just a matter of a lot of steps. That's all. And we're going to go through that. And I'm going to show you that. Now, I do have to do a screen-to-screen voiceover. And the reason is my friend's family was having some music and kind of a get-together type thing. And I don't have the licensing for all the music. As you know, YouTube, it's a great sin. It is the ultimate sin to play music on your videos without getting the license or the proper, I guess, what I'm trying to, the proper licensing, I guess, to play that music on your video. And if it was in the background, you will get flagged for it. And so I did have to do a voiceover on this because of, they would be kind of rude to, hey, folks, shut that down. We're doing a video here. They were having to get together with the radio on in the background, and I don't have the permission to play that music. So I'll do my very best. But either way, I hope this video helps you if you happen to run into a battery current sensor issue. I hope the things I listed give you something to check. And that goes with all vehicles, not just the Outlander, but those items cause this issue. It could be a Lancer, it can be, it could be a Honda Civic, it could be what have you. It doesn't matter. But if you run into that, you might be able to save a few bucks by doing some of the things that I did in this video. And I hope it helps. And I hope you don't run into a scary moment like I did coming home. That was probably, a gripping moment. I did, like I said, coast down the hill and was able to get it into the drive off the road, but there were a couple times at some stoplights and what have you where I was a little concerned. And I was blessed and was able to get it to where it needed to be, to where I was safe and get all this work done. So with that, let's get into this repair and let's get started. All right, folks, here we are. And we're taking a look at my Outlander. And I want to show you a few things real quick here. So this right here is your battery current sensor. This is on the negative side. This black box right here is the actual sensor itself. And down there at the bottom, that's where the coupler connects. And that's what makes a big difference. Right here is your intake to your air box. And these things will need to be removed to get to the ground where it connects. That's your mass airflow sensor. A 10 millimeter fits this, so you unscrew that to take that off the air intake box. You have a 10 millimeter screw down here. This 10 millimeter screw here comes out, and that's once you disconnect the air intake, that will take off the box after you remove your mass airflow sensor. This is you're on your positive side over here. I took that off. That red cover just slides right off. It clips on each side, and there's 4 fuses. But this here comes off. It just unbuckles from your air intake here, this piece right here. And you just take that, disconnect it here, and then take your mass airflow sensor, disconnect them, and you just take that air intake, you lift it up, because there'll be a clip in the back. There's a clip in the back. You just lift that up and move it over to wherever you want it out of the way. Now you can clean your mass airflow sensor in there while it's out if you want, but I would make sure the holes are covered so nothing falls down into it and what have you. And that's pretty much it. This is where this all takes place. All right, folks. Now, before we go on, I wanted to take a quick moment and give you a tip here. Some cars that you work on, now if you're not doing an Outlander, you might be doing a Civic or something. BMW, I don't know. BMWs are a little different when it comes to this. They call theirs a management, EBM or something. I can't remember, but this little item here that we're looking at, this is an OBD power unit. And here's what can happen if you're not careful. Now, the Outlander, I did not have to, this wasn't something I worried about. But If you change the battery, disconnect the current sensor, and if you want, even obviously replacing the battery, you'll have to do the positive. But if you're charging your battery outside of the car doing it, let's say you have a car charger at home or what have you, and you disconnect that battery, and which is wise to do because you don't want to back current things, um, which can ruin a battery current sensor by attaching positive and negative with just leaving the battery connected in your car, then running a charger to it. That can injure electronics in your car. It really can. So you disconnect the negative side or what have you of the battery. You want to keep your onboard, your OBD, one or two, it doesn't matter which one you have, powered. Okay, and what that will do is prevent lockup of the radio, lockup of security systems, and what have you. Is I'm going to show you here. This unit here is done. I have a jack that this will fit into the old cigarette lighter power. They call them power locations now, but this just fits into that. Some guys and gals will cut this wire so they have positive, negative, but you want a 12-volt source. And I'm going to go underneath. It's kind of a crappy, I don't do a good job recording, but I'll show you on the Outlander. It's on the left-hand side, driver's side under the dash is where this plugs into. And you put this to a power source. That way, when you disconnect the battery, the memory is still saved on the car, and you don't have to go through. This is like a $5 or an $8 item that is worth its weight in gold. So we're going to come over here, and I want to attempt to show you. It's on the left-hand side right there, but it's so dark, and I apologize. I was trying to find it so I could show you the plug-in, but right where I'm at, about on the Outlander on the driver's side, it's elongated, and you just plug into that, and it's under there. And as you can tell where my hand is here, I'm trying to show you where that is, but I didn't realize the lighting was this bad, and I apologize. But it's under the dash there. You just plug into that, and that's it there. And we're in my friend's driveway, but this piece here is worth its weight in gold. Grab you up one of those. It's called an OBD power adapter, what have you, and $5. I've seen them cheaper, but it will save yourself so much effort. But here we are. Once again, I discussed with what we're going to need. There's that current sensor. That's what it looks like right there. That is the battery current sensor. That's the pigtail. It's called the pigtail. And there's what makes the difference of getting the right and the wrong one. One for the Outlander goes like from 2000, I want to say 2009 to 2019, maybe. I might be wrong on that. Don't quote me. There's the negative that goes down, bolts to the frame. But that pigtail, that 4-prong is what makes a difference, and it connects right there to the negative. That is what is the big thing about getting the right current sensor. Now you're going to need a 10 and a 12 millimeter for this job, and those are the 3 bolts that you don't want to lose that are going to come out. You got your mass airflow sensor here, and you want to disconnect that. You just squeeze the sides, it unplugs. 10 millimeter clamp, and you loosen that, or you can have a Phillips head screwdriver, and that just pulls away. And then there's your negative, your positive right here with the red cover that slides up, and you can check the 4 fuses. There's 4 fuses in here, and while you're at it, check them. Why not? Just make sure there's no corrosion, everything's okay. You have 4 fuses there, and this is on the 2000. This is a 15 Outlander 2.0. So right there is a 10 millimeter, and that's where it connects to the air intake box. And you're going to need 10 millimeter for that. And there's your mass airflow sensor right in the center. You might want to spray it while you're at it. Get some mass airflow sensor cleaner. And there's your 12 millimeter connection to the end of the pigtail of the battery current sensor. And it's going to make like a letter S as it goes down in there. There is a clamp right here that you're going to have to pull to get it up, and a hard one. It's horrible. That one right there is a pain in the rear, and that one can be a pesky guy, but it can come up and makes a letter S there, and that's it. And that 10 millimeter is what takes the box off. 12 millimeter there, and makes letter S, goes in there around and behind the battery, and then you have a 10 millimeter here that plugs into the frame of the car there, and there's your negative post that it would lock onto, and that's a 10 millimeter as well to tighten it to that post. OEM is 10 millimeter. I'll put it that way, because if you have aftermarket, it might be different. But the bolts on the post there. Now to the ground that goes, there's two of them side by side. This is the pigtail. It bolts right there. That's the ground for the little pigtail. And then here's the ground for the big one. And there's some rust and corrosion there. And you want to get that clean. That needs to be cleaned up. That you want to get that brown off if you have that, or green or whatever. All of that needs to be silver. You want that to shine. Now, obviously, if you want to put something down in that screw hole so it doesn't get rust down in there or whatever, but I took a wire brush and was able to get that clean and what have you. And I was able to get that cleaned up so that I had a nice fresh contact on the reconnect. And that's it. And that's pretty much it. That is that's it right there. That's all there is to it. And then of course the assembly is just the opposite. You just put everything back together the way you took it off, and you're done. And then that's all there really is to it. So folks, that's pretty much it. You know, all of the all of the tools and all of the parts I used. Shout out to Wyra. I love their tools. You've seen them in the video there. I'll have links in the description if you're kind of curious as to battery current sensors or what have you. A lot of people ask, if I test, can I test to see if mine's bad? You can, absolutely, and you have to be good with an ohm meter. I don't have those numbers, and they're different for every vehicle. So if you do that, there are pages out there on the internet that show you, what numbers to look for if you test your own meter. I just went ahead and just replaced mine because I noticed that if you've seen in the video, there was cracking on the back, which allows moisture to get into there. And I have areas where I could see moisture is taking its toll on this vehicle, and it's just going to be a matter of time that it's getting to the point where sometimes it's just do you pay constantly to have the thing fixed, or do you just make a car payment on a new car? Something you have to decide. But on this video, I apologize for it being so cut and choppy. I'll have links in the description of the tools, and like I said, it's a real simple process. It's just a matter of steps. There's a lot of steps to get it pieces laid out. I use little plastic bags, like sandwich bags, so that if I do set a bolt somewhere and it gets down, it doesn't fall between the engine and land on one of the plastic shields under there. And you got to try and find some way to get under the car and get your hand up in there to grab it, or hopefully you have an extended magnet or whatever. There's all these things, but I use a bag. I put these pieces in a bag so that if they do fall, it's easier to grab the bag, and it's harder for the bag to drop. But those are just some of the tips I do. I hope this helps you out. I hope the few tips that I ran into, or the things I was telling you, helps you out. I know it's elongated and a choppy video, and I apologize for that. If you get a chance, hit the like button. Just give me a like. You don't have to subscribe if you don't want to, but it's always appreciated if you do. And I just hope that my frustrations maybe give you a little bit of a calmer day. Let's put it that way. And maybe gets you your issue on your vehicle handled a little bit more efficiently than mine. Combined total, I had my car sitting. Thank gosh for friends. I had my car sitting for almost 2.5, 3 weeks. And we had a horrific storm, storms and tornadoes, and the windows were down. I didn't have the battery power to roll it up, and I was able to get a tarp. It was an interesting venture. Let's put it that way. It's been a humbling adventure, and I hope I was able to take this and assist you in some way of maybe getting yourself back on the road, or at least narrowing down a problem of what could be going on. With that, folks, thanks for watching. I do hope you have a fantastic weekend. It's my Friday, or you just have a fantastic day in general. And I look forward to possibly seeing you again. And be safe, be good to one another. Take care.